So now that we have that, what we would really need is in this manager, obviously, when we want to, let's say, start combat, we would need various things. So he needs an event. All right, let's make an event here, and it's going to be, we'll call it start combat. Screw it, right? Same thing, whatever. Why not? Start combat. Poof. Now he needs event properties. This AI, when it collides, when it collides, he needs to send those properties, right? So, for example, we need to let's get rid of the colors. No, let's keep the colors because it's a good way to kind of demonstrate this. We'll get rid of them later. They're not needed. They're just there for demonstration. If you want to get rid of them, get rid of them. But I'll keep them just so we can see. This guy needs to set event properties. Event. Where is... All right. Where is... Okay, forward events. We could use data. I'd rather not use data. Well, where's the properties? I wonder if that was a special package I had in the other project. Get scene properties, set properties. Oh, well, weird. All right, well, let's do event data. Event data. So we have set event datas. Let's do that. So we know we're going to load a level, and we know we need like something, right? So what do we need to tell the manager when it's going to load a level? We need to load we could load the game object, right? So let's, over here, let's get owner. And we'll just call it self. Move to the top. And we're going to need a string, right? Because we need to know if we hit the back, side, or front. So let's set string. And this is going to be combat starting position, maybe? How about that? All right. So if we're in the back, let's go back. Nope, no, don't hit enter. And then let's go over here and do the same thing. Just copy and paste. And we'll do side. And paste before. This can be front. Down the road, we might add where if the player gets hit from behind, if the AI is chasing him, we can do like another one, like player critical or something. So now we can set the string data, right? Which is currently empty, but it's going to get filled by one of those. We can set the game object data by ourselves, and then we can send event to a specific object, right, which will end up being the manager, to start combat, and this is going to actually be the global manager, just like that. So there we have that. So when that goes, the manager needs to obviously get that event data, right? So we can do something with it. Get. All right, let's get rid of that. There we go. Actually, I don't think it's called data. I think it's called info. I think is the wording they use. Get event info. So we could say we're going to get the game object data. This is going to be the AI or whatever we sent it from. And this is going to be the starting position. Now that we have that, if we hit play, we should see that if we run over to this AI, we run into it in the back, that we got, this AI said, hey, we got hit and we got hit in the back. Right, just like that. So now we know that we can load level or load scene at index 1, because that's going to be our battle scene. But we also need something. We need to get our player position. So in our player, let's come over to our move. Let's go to our start. Right here is fine, because we're not going to do it every frame. Let's get owner of our player. Move that to the top. And let's store this to a new global variable called player. There, we have a player. He's that. That's it. Right. So now when we want to start combat, let's get position. Put it above the load scene of player. This is the player's world position. Now the other thing we're going to need is we're going to need to prefab this player. So I'm going to just drag him over, original prefab, there he goes. Right, because when we go into combat, when we come out of combat, we need to recreate our player and put him at that position. Now with that said, we do have an issue with the camera. Right, so let's quickly go over. Let's go to our ecosystem and let's say help if I spelt it right. There we go. We can get special actions for this system. So now we have actions. So let's see what we have if we go down to this special list. Oh man, look at all these actions. And this can also be used with the input system, the new input system too. We don't need to do that. We're not controlling it. The camera, like rotating it by commands. But we do need to zoom follow settings. No. Impulses, those are great for shakes. There we go. See how we have get follow? But we don't want that. We want to set follow target. And we want to set the look target. So what are we setting it to? Right? Well, we now know we have a global of a player. There we go. So if I clear these out, well, let's make sure that works, right? Okay, there's none. This guy's not following anything now. We got warnings. And of course, you know, it didn't work, and I know why it didn't work, but we'll fix it. If I restart it, poof, there we go. So, why didn't it work? Well, that's because during that start phase, this thing's telling this guy to fit or run to the player, but the player's still setting himself up in that same situation. So what we need to do is just put a itty bitty little check. And this is is null. Right? So if player is not null, we can set it. And we're going to put this one to every frame. And we're going to bring this back over as a safety check over here. And it's going to be every frame, but if it's null, then we've lost the player. And to come back over here. Because now it won't set it until it sees that there is a player to actually set it to. And now it's got a player. As you can see, all the things are set. Everything's working fine. There we go. Now, I think one of the things I want to do with this AI really quick is actually adjust the Angler speed. Let's go 300, take the speed up to 5. Let's make them a little rapid. You don't need to do that. You can adjust that however you want it. So now that we have this, we can get this. We can load the scene. So if we now load the scene, let's run at the AI and let it actually load. Right? So we've loaded the scene. We're in the scene. We still have this. Right? Now this is obviously gone because we're in a different scene, but we know it's from the back. And we have the player's position in the world from the other scene just being stored and held. So there's certain things that this needs to happen, or this guy here needs. And that's going to be, if we go back into scene 2 and we create, we'll just do a plane. And we're going to set it to 0, 0, 0. Okay, so here we have this. I'm going to get rid of the canvas here because we don't actually need it for now. I mean, we might use it later on for testing. And I'm just going to set this up. So, okay, there's our battle scene. And I'm just going to take this camera and I'm going to align it like that. Right, just game object align with view, and it aligns to this view here, or at least it tries to. So, and now we have this view. So this would need now to create our player and the AI. You know, but that depends on which way, for example, we're facing. Right? Did we hit the back of the AI? Right? Did the AI hit the back of us? Did we hit the side? Did we hit the front? So there's going to be different things that we have to do here. So with that, let's add, actually no, let's just do this. Let's put this right in the middle, or right at 0, 0, 0, and this can be our spawn system. And this could use, I'm going to use cubes to help visualize this, and we can get rid of the renderers after. Right, so we could have one there, say one there, and let's put one here, here, and here. Now, the other thing I want to see the blue arrow? Everything's facing that direction. So I want these 3 to not face that direction. I want them to face that direction. And I want these 3 to face this direction. So if we look at, all right, blue is facing that way, blue is facing this way. Now we have there. So the other thing we can now do let's take these and get rid of the mesh renderer, that and that. They're just transforms now. And you can change the name to, I don't know, position or something. Right, but now we have a spawn system that sits in the middle, and we have positions. And the positions all have a special place that they're looking at. So we know that the 3 first ones are on the right side and the 3 last ones are on the left side. So what we could do there is make a spawn system, and we could do an array. You could also use array maker. Array maker might almost be a better choice for this, actually. So let's get array maker, because I don't think I have it yet. Array maker. And it's a package, right? If you want, you can filter these things by packages, by the way. Like if I search it now, I mean, it's there anyways. But if you search by package, it should be like, hey. I mean, I should probably just get it anyways, but so at least it's getting it. But while it's doing that, hopefully this will search and show just the packages, which is kind of an easy way to do certain things. But array maker is really great. It comes, and it's called array maker, but you get hash tables and array lists and so forth. Array maker, and by package, search again. There we go. So you can search by packages and just see packages. You could also do templates and stuff like that too. I don't know if there's much for templates out there. So let's add an array list proxy, right? We have spawn points, and we can pre-fill this data. We know we have 6 points. Let's just put them in. So we know index 0, 1, 2, and that's it, are on the right side. Index 3, 4, 5 are on the left side. Because now we can get owner, and we can store this as another new global is our spawn system, right? And we have spawn points. So now we know how to communicate with this, and we know where these positions are. So let's save that. Now let's open this guy back up. Let's go back out here. So if we were to load, we load a scene, let's do right, we can do a switch, right? So okay, so for example, let's create a cube, and this is going to be our dummy player, and I'm going to prefab him, delete him, make sure these things are all set to 0. It's kind of a better way to do things. So I'm going to bring him as a variable for now, and this is just temporary. So once we've loaded, we can now array list get. And if you remember, we have a global called spawn system. It has a list called spawn points, and we can now get the different indexes. So we'll use index 0 because we know 0, 1, and 2 are on the right side. And it's a type of game object, and this is going to be the spawn point. So now that we've gotten that, we can now create object, move to the bottom. We're going to do our dummy player, and we're going to put him at the spawn point of spawn point, but we're going to store this as our created player. So now what we can do here, let's go down here, is we could string switch. And you could actually do this prior to this if you wanted to, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So if it's back, you know, we hit back, sides, and front. All right, so now we have sides and front. So you can now do various things on how we may want to set that up. So, for example, let's now create another object, and we'll make this a capsule. I'll call this the dummy AI. And same idea, I'm going to zero him out. And let's bring him over as a variable. Delete him from here. And if, say, we hit the back, right, or whatever. So we now need to create our, for now I'm just going to do a create object. There's going to be an entirely different spawning system for the AI, but this will give you an idea. And we need to get, obviously, a different position. So let's get at index, let's get number 3. We create that guy at spawn point. We can reuse this for all of them. It's not a big deal. And this is the created AI. So we hit the back though. So what do we want to do? Well, let's we want the AI to turn, right? So let's transform. Now, if you use a world position, we could just tell them to face different directions, and that might be an easier way to go about it, right? So let's rotation, set rotation. Right, so we can now move this to the bottom. I'm going to make sure everything's in order. So the created AI, let's set his Y to, so 0 was facing north, and we want to face backwards. We need to go to -90. And if we want, we could also make sure that this is done on the player as well. On the created player, and he is, well, he's also going to be set on -90 technically. Right, and then we can copy that and we can paste it, and maybe you know, on, if we get hit on the sides, maybe there's an odd, he can go either or, but the AI is going to go, we'll say 90, and the player can also be 90, and it would literally be the same here. Something might be different here, but right. So let's try that. Let's see what happens. So if we run over and we run into the back of this AI, we should load, and we should go to our manager. All right. So he tried to create it, and obviously tried to do it prior to all this. So we need to fix that. So we need this guy here. Let's bring this down. And send scene loaded event. No. Scene at index 1 is loaded event. Let's say yes. It is loaded. Go. Alright, let's save that. Let's make sure that works. Let's make sure we're actually in the scene before we try to set anything up, I suppose, right? So we go. That obviously doesn't have a every frame event, that's why it's grayed out. So we need that to also have a not loaded event. And that's going to have to go over here and just feed back with the next frame. Right? You don't want to go in there without the next frame because you'll get a infinite loop. And that's no good either. That will just force your FSM to stop working, period. We don't want that. Now, do we? So we go in. That's also still, I don't know, not working. So let's say paste this and send this to no. We'll force it over if we have to. Is out of range. All right, there's got to be a new or a different, an actual working merge scenes, allow scene. Okay, active scene changed event. All right, let's try that one. Let's try the top one first. All right, so that one works. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. He will work. Now, kind of like the same thing with the camera, is because the spawning system stores itself, we need to know if it's not null. So it just needs to give it that moment until it's actually full. There we go. So now those kind of checks are put in place. We should be able to come into here. We've loaded, and we've... So now, the key thing here, though, is we hit them in the back, right? So what's important here is the player, the blue arrow is facing this direction. But notice the AI is also facing this direction because we hit them in the back, so they're facing this way, right? So we're getting our back attack. And if we try that again, and we hit them from the sides or the front, it's going to be a much different story, right? Where now, if we click on this guy, his Z is facing this way, right? Ours is facing this way, we're facing each other, it's a normal combat situation.